Spare the rod, spoil the child. A famous quote by a poet named Samuel Butler that has absolutely nothing to do with child rearing, but is about a man's love for a widow. Yet we have taken this quote as Bible and completely out of context to imply that to not spank a child is to spoil them. Well, what if I told you that spanking as a form of discipline actually does more harm than good? In fact, what is discipline? And is spanking discipline? Now, if statistics are true, most of us have experienced spanking as a form of discipline in our childhood or know someone who has. Growing up, my parents used spanking in our household, and truth be told, I did not like it. But when I became an adult, somehow I concluded that because I came out okay, that spanking is an appropriate form of discipline. Well, fast forward a few years, and I am now a mother to two young children, and recently I began to question whether or not spanking is okay. In addition to interviewing family and friends who've experienced spanking in their childhood, I have conducted research, and today I want to shed light on spanking and the psychological effect it has on children, and to also encourage you to consider alternative forms of discipline that promote mental health and positive behaviors. So let's talk about the word discipline and how it relates to spanking. Discipline is derived from the Latin word disciplina, which means to teach. The Canadian Pediatric Society reinforces this meaning by stating the word discipline means to impart knowledge and skill, to teach. So here's the thing. Children are naturally curious and develop moral judgment by learning. So as parents, it is our responsibility to teach children right from wrong, to decrease those negative behaviors and increase positive behaviors. So let's go to spanking. Spanking is defined as using physical force with the intention of causing a child to experience pain, but not injury, to correct or control a youth's behavior. But here's the thing. Control doesn't equal teaching. So when a child is spanked for a wrongdoing, they have not learned why they should or should not do it. On the contrary, this child has experienced pain in the form of physical punishment, most likely at a stage where they're taught to keep their hands and their feet to themselves. So given these definitions, when a child is spanked, what knowledge or skill has been imparted other than the possible fear and anxiety of being caught next time? Better yet, why is spanking so prevalent? In a peer-reviewed article by Elizabeth Gershoff, spanking tends to be associated with what is called immediate compliance, aka it gets the job done. However, immediate compliance was considered to be the only positive outcome evident because spanking was also associated with decreased internalization of morals, which means yes, it gets the job done, but only on a surface level. The behavior only stopped out of fear of punishment, and no true lesson was internalized. You see, what adults see as respect in regards to spanking is oftentimes fear, which brings me to my next point. The negative effects spanking has on child development. In the article, Hugs Not Hits, Warmth and Spanking as Predictors of Child Social Competence, researchers actually found that spanking predicts increases in child aggression. This is a clear case of modeling. Children are more likely to do as we do than as we say. Because spanking is the act of hitting, there really is no differentiation in the child's mind from hitting as a form of discipline and hitting as a form of violence. To further prove this, researchers at the University of Michigan conducted a study that found that spanking being linked to similar mental health outcomes as physical abuse because both involve the use of force and infliction of pain. This same study also indicated that the violence caused by spanking can lead to adults to depression, attempted suicide, alcoholism, and the use of illegal drugs. I know, it's a lot. But now that we are aware of these facts, let's look at three different alternatives to spanking recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics that have been proven to be effective in disciplining children. Number one, show and tell. Model the behaviors that you want to see in your children. In other words, be the change that you want to see. Number two, redirect bad behavior. Sometimes children misbehave because they are bored or they just don't know any better. Find something else for that child to do. And number three, call a timeout. Now this is for you and the child. You can simply say, go to timeout and come back when you feel ready and in control. This strategy actually helps children learn and practice self-management skills and also works for older children, teens. By no means is this list exhaustive, but if you're feeling how I was feeling, which was clueless once I heard the facts, these are some great techniques to start with. In conclusion, there is more evidence pointing to the detrimental effects that spanking has on children. Spanking not only affects childhood development, but also carries into adulthood with greater impact. The reality is, parenting is just hard. Kids don't come with a manual. That's the simple truth. There is no quick solution to unwanted behaviors. Instead, we as parents are required to be consistent, firm, and loving as many times as necessary. And yes, it can be time-consuming, but considering a child's physical and mental health in the long run is well worth it. Thank you for listening.